It's a typical evening at Bishan Park. It's the kind of place that Daniel usually go to clear his mind after work. But today, the weight on his shoulders seems to be far too much for this green and quiet space to even soothe. 2 days ago, Daniel's world shattered. A WhatsApp message sent to his wife by accident revealed the unthinkable. Clara has been seeing someone else. His heart twisted with every detail he imagined, but he wasn't ready to confront her again. The truth was already unbearable. Yet, part of him wanted to know everything. The betrayal cut deep, and Daniel sat alone, overwhelmed by the storm of questions and the urge to act. File for divorce? Confront her? Ask why? But where would it end? And would knowing everything really help? Or would it destroy him even more? With every passing hour, Daniel began to realize that it wasn't about him finding out what Clara actually did. It wasn't about him finding out the answers or the truth. It was about Daniel surviving this moment. It was about him getting the strength so that he can make a decision. And that would have to be enough for him this moment to pull through. Infidelity challenges the very fabric of trust and security in a relationship, as we heard from Daniel's story. It leaves both partners to navigate very difficult emotional terrain. And today, as we listen to our speakers, we will not only explore the pain that comes along with infidelity, but also the potential for healing, growth, and reflection. Now, it's not going to be easy, but perhaps the very first step that one could take to embark on a journey of recovery might be to learn how to process these emotions that come along with it.
So for different people, they will react differently depending on how their nervous system is being wired. So for some people, they will get angry. For some people, they will start to tune out and they will start to go into denial. For some individuals, they'll try to please the partner, to try to woo the partner back. Some people, they go into shock and then they freeze. And there are so many different patterns that can happen. Some people just collapse completely and then they just become very low energy because they can't believe it's happening. But generally, I would say the best thing to do in times like this is really to step away, to go into a safe space where we can sort of reconnect to our center, to know that whatever happens in our life, we will always have our own back, and there will always be people in our life who love us, who are there to energize us, to know that we are never completely alone. I think that centering is the most important thing.
Each of us reacts differently when faced with betrayal, anger, denial, or even shutting down completely. And as we just discussed, one of the most important things that you can do for yourself is perhaps to center yourself back again, to find that strength from within, and to also know that perhaps we never are truly alone in this journey.
Alright, we have to recognize that the injured partner will definitely experience symptoms of betrayal trauma. Alright, and during this period of time, his or her emotions will go through like a roller coaster. So especially the first 6 months, I would say the first 6 months after the discovery of the infidelity, avoid any rash decision. This is a time where the injured partner, will have to work through his or her emotions to stabilize, such that he or she will not react at any triggers. So avoid any rash decision. And such as, I have clients who tell me that, now that he or she has cheated on me, I want to go to the divorce lawyer and file for a divorce. Don't do that, especially in the first 6 months. take time to give space to each other, to allow both partners, not just the injured partner, but also the offending partner, to process their emotions and avoid any emotionally charged discussions at this stage. Whatever questions or whatever that you try to talk to each other is going to most likely escalate into a fight. So that's why let's give space to each other and also avoid interrogation and especially asking for details. At this stage, while I know there is that urgency or that instinct to ask for details like, okay, where did both of you go to? How much do you spend on gifts buy for the other partner? Try to avoid that, because this partner that I'm referring to, the injured partner, may not have the mental and emotional capacity to manage all these details, and that may actually slow down the recovery process. All right. Of course, be the offending or the injured partner, let's be accountable, let's be transparent in this process of healing. And finally, I will actually encourage both the injured partner and also the offending partner to actually seek help from a professional, someone who's trained in, let's say, relationship or couples therapy, because this period of time can be very volatile and both of them may not have the skills to navigate difficult conversations.
Okay, so if you find suspicious evidence that makes you think whether your partner is actually committing infidelity, right? One of the things you want to ask yourself, are you ready to actually handle what you may uncover? At this point in time, I will strongly suggest that before you look in deeper into evidences, right, do have someone that you can reach out to support you at the side. Because if you do uncover more evidence that say that this is true, a meltdown, a breakdown is inevitable, and you want to have someone at your side as you go through this process. Okay, whether you choose to uncover the truth yourself, hire a private investigator, or confront the person yourself, this doesn't matter. If finding the truth is important for you, sure, go ahead, because it will help you understand what is really happening so that you can have a clear idea of what to expect. So the next thing that you want to think about is, if this is true, what will you want to do with the relationship? Can you still trust this person again, right? And or to you, like, this relationship is doomed and you're ready to leave. If you feel that you're someone who cannot handle this infidelity at all, that no matter what this person has done, the extent of it, you're ready to leave, another thing that I will encourage you to find out is the divorce proceedings in your countries, and what are the implications that involve. Okay, finding all those information will give you a clearer idea of what to expect and what to do, as you confront your partner that way.
Before seeking out every details of an affair, as what our speaker has reminded us, let's ask ourselves, will finding out more truly help us? Or will it just further deepen the emotional wound that we have? Are you ready? Are you prepared to deal with whatever that you hear and you find out? Sometimes less is more when it comes to understanding infidelity.
How should the supposed victim decide whether they want to leave or stay in the relationship? So sometimes I do see clients that they come to me as a couple and they say, this happened, we can't sort this out on our own, which is why we are seeing a professional. And sometimes I will ask them very honestly, how many % of you still wants this, and how many % of you has already kind of faded out in some sense. And what I realize is when both parties are able to stabilize their nervous system and return to their center in a more regulated state, many of them that I've seen, their commitment to stay actually becomes higher because their mind is in a clearer and less impulsive place. So I would say the main thing for the partner who's thinking, okay, this has happened to me, I'm thinking of leaving, the best thing to do is still the same, to come back to your center, to make sure that whatever decision you are making it with your full executive function online, that we know exactly what we are getting into, so that there is no subsequent regret as well.
Okay, before I go to the different situations to consider again, I will still say don't make any rash decision. Now set a realistic timeline. Recovering from infidelity will definitely take time. A realistic timeline that sometimes I do advise my clients will be anywhere between 6 months to 2 years or more, depending on the complexity of the situation or the relationship. But during this period of time, to the betrayed or the injured partner, I will always recommend take care of yourself first. Always show yourself self-compassion, because this is the period where especially the injured partner, he or she will start going into this rumination thinking that, hey, I'm at fault, there's something wrong with me, and that's why my spouse or my partner wants to check out a relationship outside our marriage or relationship. But give yourself that compassion and acknowledge your pain first. And through this whole process of what I call emotional regulation, we want to stabilize your emotions so that you have the space, the capacity to make decisions or sound decisions if you want to know where you want to bring this relationship to. Now, of course, when it comes to decision making, whether you want to stay or leave this relationship, there are a few factors that you need to consider. First of all, for the relationships to continue, both parties must feel safe with each other, and both parties must be able to take responsibility how he or she have each contributed to this relationship, alright? But moving to that point to take responsibility is not an overnight process. And that's why I say let's set a realistic timeline between 6 to 2 years or even more, depending on the complexity or the depth of the issue. Now, other factors that we also want to consider is whether if there's safety. And safety means that is there any constant abuse, be it physical or emotional abuse in the relationship. Without safety, we can't talk about whether can we restore the relationship. And of course, the most important factor is whether is the offending partner still seeing the what I call affair partner outside the relationship, because that is a big indicator whether can both of you still continue to work on this relationship. As long as the offending partner is still continuing with the relationship outside your marriage or your committed relationship, it's very difficult to work on the current existing relationship. So I would say that in summary, what factors to look through is to consider is whether if there's safety and whether are both of you committed to working on this relationship. It is never easy to recover from betrayal, any forms of betrayal, and it will take time. I always advise that it is okay to go with your pace.
So if you're the betrayed partner and you're thinking whether to stay or to leave, I think the most important question you need to ask yourself is, based on what has been invested so far and the future ahead, do you think you still would like to have this person on this journey with you? Alright, and of course the other thing to look at is the extent of the infidelity. Is that something that you can forgive the person for? Alright, and then you need to look at how sincere is the person is in terms of changing and agreeing to commit to the relationship again, right? And what are the action steps the person has proactively agreed on to actually rebuild the trust, right? So these are the few factors I would say that we can consider to look at whether to stay or to leave, right? Of course, there are other factors that do come in that is easier to tease out during the actual face-to-face session to look at what is the possibility of both of you working things out together.
So I have seen certain couples where there's a clear sense that one partner is sometimes committing infidelities as a way of pressurizing their partner to end the relationship because they don't want to take responsibility for the pain that comes with that rupture. So that one I've also seen before. And sometimes I think it's also important to just check in with both to ask them how much of you is still invested in this and how much of you has kind of faded out. And from there we see if we let's say someone wants to stay in a relationship 70% and they have sort of checked out 30% and someone else is 90% checked out, then I would say that it's time to have that important conversation. Is this something that you both want? Are you willing to be in a relationship with someone who has 90% given up on you? And that's a very painful question, but a very necessary one. Yeah. And I would say another important one is if one's partner has committed multiple infidelities and they have not done a health check. For the protection of both parties, I would strongly suggest both partners to go for a health check just to assess their current level of safety, and this is for their own protection. But in general, whether a couple chooses to stay together or separate is always their decision. How far they want to go is always their choice.
For a couple to work on the relationship, there must be safety, there must be security. Now, to create safety and security, of course, we need accountability and transparency. So during this period of time, it is important, especially for the offending partner, to stop seeing the affair partner. Now, suppose if the offending partner still continues to see the affair partner outside the marriage during this what we call the recovery stage, it is very hard to work on this relationship and especially to rebuild the emotional connection which has been disconnected during the infidelity. Now, another factor that we also want to highlight is physical and emotional safety. If there's any abuse, such as physical abuse or verbal abuse, it is unsafe for the couples to be together. It would be good that to consider maybe some form of a pause or a separation, or to see counselors separately during this period of time. But if this still persists on, even though both of you may have already sought out and see counselors for it, then you may want to consider whether is this something that you want to continue working on.
Staying in the relationship will not be advisable if your partner has been very abusive, throughout the relationship. That all you have been doing is to tolerate his or her abuse, whether verbal abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. These are the situations I'll definitely strongly not advise for the person to stay. Or if the other partner is ready to leave and not willing to commit to make things work, of course there's no reason then to stay.
Safety, both emotional and physical, is a foundation for any healing. If there's no safety in the relationship, no amount of work can be done to restore that trust. Therefore, creating a safe space for yourself is a priority.
So I have seen clients where they tell me that because their partner has cheated on them, there's that sense that my life is falling apart. So I have, clients who have told me that they would tell their partner things like, I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to hit myself so hard to let you know how much you have hurt me, because I can't hit you, so I hit myself as a way of expressing the intensity of my pain. So I think it's very important for people to realize that self-harm is not because someone doesn't respect themselves or love themselves. It's really because the internal pain is so intense that I don't mind using any approach that can distract me from this. I will take it, because if my internal pain is so much, and then I need something intense enough that can balance it out in a way. So if I feel this much, whatever I'm doing is going to be this much, naturally. So I have a client who would say something like, I'm going to kill myself. And the husband is like, oh my god, like, do I need to call the police? Like, what is she going to do? And when I looked at her, and I told her, I don't think you want to kill yourself. You don't mean it literally, you mean it in a metaphorical way. What you're trying to tell me is that it hurts so badly. It's as though I wish I were dead, so I don't need to feel this pain ever again. That's what you mean, right? So I think it's very important to separate firstly what is metaphorical from what is literal, and secondly, if it's actually physical, that they're really like hitting themselves and leaving bruises or scratching themselves or cutting themselves, there is that sense that to be a little bit more compassionate with them, for them to also recognize that I am doing this as a way of distracting and protecting myself from feeling an even deeper pain that's worse. And once they're able to see that, there's a very clear sense that, okay, so I'm doing this not because I don't value myself, I'm doing this as a way to escape and distract from my pain. So what I need to do perhaps are certain physical exercises to really, let's say doing this will release delta waves in the brain. Very slow, very gentle, very rhythmic movement can help to stabilize the body. The body in the moments of unpredictability be like repetition. And so this is like one way of like soothing the body, using very visceral touch to let the body know that no matter how crazy our reality can feel, I can do small things for myself, and this is within my control, and I do it for me. And so I would say any form of physical hurt, I would say it's a reflection of generally, and not for all, it's a reflection of emotional pain. But if the outlet is physical, the best solutions also tend to be physical. How do I communicate in a very visceral sense that how can I create my own safety in a world that has gone mad? And I think that ability to create our own stability is the most powerful gift we can give to ourselves.
I have two advice for this. First of all, learn to just give yourself self-compassion, and during this period of time, learn to identify any triggers, any emotions, and when you're able to identify the feelings and also able to name it, it will help you to stabilize that roller coaster emotional journey that you're going on. And this actually gives you the space and also the capacity to make sound decision. The other part is draw boundaries. Know what protects you or know what is going to harm you. So for example, if there's still no verbal or emotional or perhaps physical abuse during this period of time, tell yourself that you don't deserve this and seek help. And seeking help could be seeking help from a counselor or a social worker in this aspect. Keep yourself safe. And finally, I would just like to also encourage the injured partner to surround yourself with a strong social support, especially surround yourself with family members or friends whom you trust, who can be there for you to give you objective advice.
Okay, so instead of using the word protection, I will prefer to use the word support, right? So as the person who's being betrayed, you're going to go through a lot of pain. That is inevitable. But what's going to make the pain more bearable is actually to have a good support system around you who will work with you through this journey as you're healing from the pain, right? And then one of the things you will want to be mindful of doing is not to excessively dig for evidence, to prove that your partner has been cheating and the extent of cheating at some level, because so what if you know, right? All this information is just going to hurt you even more. So even finding out the level of cheating, there needs to be called a stop at some point in time, right? I have people coming to say that they watch videos of their partner having sex with somebody else for 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, in order to try to get over it. I would say that may not be the best way of getting over the pain, right? There are healthier ways of doing so.
So the natural desire of human beings when they go into shock is that oftentimes we go into a state eventually after the anger has passed into a state of low energy, and we feel like very tired. I don't want to socialize. I just want to isolate. I don't have the energy. If I don't have energy for myself, how am I going to have the energy to socialize? I don't have the energy. So the very natural instinct is, okay, I need to either push myself harder to be more social, even if I don't feel like it. But then when I go out with my friends, I don't feel like I'm being real also. So there's a very strange like sandwich position. I feel too tired to socialize, but I feel really like miserable when I'm by myself. So what should I do with myself, right? So I think there is a sense that to really accept that being in that low dorsal vagal state of the nervous system where we are just very isolated, very tired, sometimes can be actually a really powerful gift. Is really letting the body know this is what you need. We actually need time to rest. We need time to hibernate. We need time to recover our sense of self again. And we don't need to push ourselves so quickly to show the whole world we are fine, when actually what we need is we need that space, that privacy to heal. And of course, some people, they find healing by being with a few trusted individuals, and the ability to assess if someone is a good source of support is also very important, because we are trusting that person when we are in a stage where we can be very fragile and rebuilding myself. So who I choose to be around me is also my choice. We always have a choice, and I think that is really important as well.
After the storm of emotions settles, we are often left with exhaustion. But that's not a sign of weakness. Rather, it's a sign that rest and recovery are needed. Give yourself the space and time to heal, without the need and rush to move on.
But another point that I also want to encourage is continue to give thanks. Okay, give thanks that if, let's say, your partner wants to turn up for every session of a couple counseling, it actually tells you that no, he or she wants to work on this relationship. Also give thanks that whenever you feel down, your friends or your family members are there to support you. And when you're able to give thanks, you're also helping yourself to grow in this process. And during times like this, it is also the best opportunity for us to grow as a person, to know what we want for ourselves and for our relationship.
Recovering from infidelity is deeply personal. And as our speakers mentioned, there's no right timeline. But one thing is certain, that this journey offers not only an opportunity for you to heal, but to rediscover your strength, to grow in ways that you never imagined, and to reclaim your future. Now, the pain of betrayal will be part of you, but it will never define you.